Are aliens real? Have they visited Earth? The government has released a lot of information recently about UFOs. So we're going to listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson explain what he thinks about these recent releases in government classified information. Let's jump into it.
The Department of Defense has released hundreds of never-before-seen files on UFOs.
NASA transcripts from 4 years later are also part of this release.
After all the speculation, the hearsay, are we any closer to the truth?
I feel like people are obsessed with the government hiding information about aliens. I don't know if anybody saw that new movie Disclosure Day, all about that. And Steven Spielberg was actually interviewed by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he says the government is actually hiding information about aliens. Personally, I don't really believe that aliens have ever visited Earth. I do believe that they exist somewhere out there in the universe. Probably. I don't know. It's just, I feel like everybody is so obsessed with the government somehow keeping that a secret, when in reality, like, we would have high definition images by now of aliens if they are visiting us on Earth.
I'm a little disappointed with the press, how they've treated this subject, because they're not doing their homework in ways they should.
Do they ever?
They're going to be a responsible press reporting on things not previously known, at one time perhaps mysterious, but upon being known, I'd expect to hear that, and I don't. So I thought I'd jump in. The Pentagon files that were released included documents, of course, not only from the US military, but also from NASA. NASA spends time in space. And if aliens are going to come from anywhere, it's probably going to be from space.
I think it would be really beneficial if you had the people who actually wrote up these documents explaining them rather than just having the documents themselves. I think the context is very important with this information, and the press is just so easily taking a lot of things out of context, extrapolating things to mean that there could be aliens, when in reality, if you just had the actual person explain it, I feel like you'd be able to understand a lot better why you should take these things with a grain of salt. By the way, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, like the video. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, so please help me out.
Those NASA documents were never classified. A. B, what the astronauts were seeing would have a complete, full, rational explanation, but you have to read the transcript to see and understand why, which I'll detail in a moment. But the fact that they were released juxtaposed with other files where people see unidentified anomalous phenomena, don't know what it is, then it's almost guilt by association. So I thought that was a little misleading. A little misleading.
Yeah, how many times have people thought that something spectacular, some spectacular sighting, something supernatural, and then later there's a perfectly explainable reason for why that took place? You have things happening all the time that look like magic, that look like something supernatural. Not that aliens are supernatural, but something that feels so spectacular that it has to be outside of the realm of our past experience. But these things have explanations behind them, whether or not we're able to explain them in the moment.
Where are these flashes that the astronauts saw? In modern astrophysics, we know that there are phenomena in the universe that accelerate particles and cast them out into space at near the speed of light. These are called cosmic rays. These move through space. They come from the center of our galaxy. They come from the center of other galaxies. They come from supernovae, wherever they are in the universe. When they impinge upon our atmosphere, they bust open atoms and molecules, creating a cascade of other particles that slowly work their way down to Earth's surface. How do I know this? Other than that there are research papers on it. I've worked on mountaintops where I got most of my PhD thesis data, observing through telescopes. And you always had to take multiple exposures of your target object. Why? Because cosmic rays will hit your digital detector and light up pixels within it. But it doesn't do it to the same pixel for all of your pictures. So you want to take at least 3 images of your object. You look through the 3 images, and if any one of those pixels was blown out, you don't use that pixel from that image, and then you average the rest. or take the median of the rest.
It's so fascinating. Yeah. So apparently light is always going the speed of light, but the medium changes the speed because it's not taking a direct route if it's going through certain mediums. And so it can do some crazy effects when a photon or a cosmic ray going through a medium like our atmosphere. It can make really unbelievable sights that we've never seen before on a day-to-day basis.
We do this all the time. Every observation at a telescope has a built-in system to free the image of cosmic rays that have hit it. The particles that hit my detector, those are much lower energy particles after the original particle got all divided up and scattered and cascaded to become many, many more lower energy particles by the time it hits the ground. When you've left Earth, there's no atmosphere to provide such protection for you. We would learn among the Apollo astronauts, who were the first astronauts to leave Earth for a destination. They would see flashes of light. They would just see it with their eyes open and with their eyes closed. Evidence that something is getting triggered on their retina, just like what was happening in my CCD photos at the telescope on mountaintops. So it's evidence that something's happening internal to the eye, but you still want to know what's causing it. So they decided, let's create a helmet for you that has detectors on it.
That's a cool looking helmet.
And if a cosmic ray triggers your helmet, at the same time you see a flash, there's hard evidence that you are seeing the interaction of cosmic rays with your retina and not some mysterious cosmic alien force trying to get inside your head.
For an everyday person, if you have something as peculiar as this happening on Earth, of course, if you're an astronaut going to space, you're going to see way more things on the day-to-day that you would never usually see. But sometimes when you're on Earth, you see super rare things, and you don't have the tools to be able to experiment, to explain. Back in the 60s and 70s, you may have never even heard of the tools or even understood the science behind what you were seeing. And even in modern day, you may not have access to the information that would allow you to understand what you're seeing or experiencing. And it's very difficult because certain things like a flash of light, maybe you don't even catch that with your camera, and it's not like you can just force it to happen again. So boom, there you see something unexplainable and you're just left with that thought, trying to ponder what you just saw, and you have nothing in your life to compare it to. So you're going to concoct some explanation for it, whether or not you have the ability to do so.
That's exactly what was observed. The Apollo light flash moving emulsion device, ALFMED. Did I get that right? I think I did. ALFMED. The emulsion, by the way, would be the detector. So ALFMED gave convincing evidence that when their helmet detected a flash of light, so did their eyes. It's one thing for it to trigger flashes of light, but that's not the real concern here. These particles are entering their bodies and could mess with your DNA. You can break apart complex molecules within your body, within your brain. So yeah, it's one thing to see flashes of light, but we really want to get to the bottom of this medically. What is the long-term effects of being out there exposed in space? So the transcripts reveal rather explicitly that you have the astronauts constantly reporting on these flashes. By the way, there are some adjectives in there. Bright as a headlight. Bright as a headlight, that sounds like there's some craft that's out there. And if you just take that comment out of context, it's like, what are they experiencing? But in the framing of the sentences that precede it and follow it, it is clear that it is simply more communication with mission control about flashes of light. These looked a little different from other flashes of light.
So that's the thing, is the context. A lot of people aren't willing to read the entire document. You know, there's probably a lot of text in that document, and for most people, they're going to only read the summaries from other people, from the press, who are trying to garner some sort of excitement towards there being aliens, some sort of exciting headline. And most people are just going to read little blurbs from it, even if they do click on the original document themselves. themselves, and they're not going to take the entire thing in its intended context. And these documents weren't meant for public display. They weren't meant for the public originally, even though they're now available to the public. That's not who they're written for. They're written for people who are going to understand them and who are going to approach the document with some nuance,
so that they can be corroborated or not with the AlphaMed experiment that's happening on their helmets. They would even take pictures of themselves wearing the helmet, orienting the helmet, to verify with mission control that the data taking was happening as expected and as instructed. There were other lights. For example, one report was that there were lights outside of the craft that reminded them of the 4th of July. I'm presuming fireworks on the 4th of July. The fireworks were not explicitly stated in the transcript. What's going on there? Well, first of all, the Apollo capsule is not completely clad with transparent windows. There are only windows sticking out in like one direction, okay? Ahead of them from where they're seated, but you don't have a 360 couple of view the way they do in the space station when they added this bubble glass that enables you to see in all directions. They would learn that these flashes of light were the product of the third Saturn V stage going off. That third stage is what takes you from orbit around Earth on a trajectory to reach the moon. It's called a translunar injection, a TLI. You're separating from a previous stage. There's engines are starting. There's the fuel that was in the tank that was kept at sub-zero temperatures because you're using liquid oxygen and liquid methane to liquefy those two gases. It's at very, very cold temperatures. And when you're that cold and you launch from Florida, you've got frost on the outsides, and that stuff finally jiggles off. That flies off. Paint chips fly off. Who knows what the hell else flies off? And there it is. Right about at that time, they see these flashes of light outside their capsule. Not in their eyes, outside.
See, this is where the explanation from those people themselves and their personal experience and the recounting of those events, it becomes important, because they're just writing down what they saw. They're not writing down that they believe that it was something extraterrestrial, that they saw some sign of aliens. They're not saying that. That's an inference made by the public who's reading these documents. But the people themselves may not even believe that there's something crazy going on in the sense that there's aliens. That's not from the shuttle itself. They may not even believe themselves that there's something unexplainable happening. They're just recounting their experience.
Photograph flashes of light that are on your retina, because that's the camera is not your retina, but you can do them outside the capsule, and they did. They communicated expressly to mission control which frame in the camera that photo would be. You could look in the files and find the photo yourself. It's a very findable thing if you want to sort of check it. I lived through the Apollo era, a great time in the history of America and of the world. I spoke with many moonwalkers, never Michael Jackson though, never met the guy, but the other moonwalkers in the world. And when they toured the world, they were received by other nations, parades and things. They would go up to them and say, "We did it." They didn't say you did it. They said, "We did it." The we, of course, is humanity reaching the moon. And when you do things that have never been done before, like going to the moon, you will experience things that no one had experienced before you. And that's what science is all about.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about science and achievements like going to the moon, is that, yes, there are a select few people who get to go on that mission to the moon, but there are a larger amount of people, a larger team, who are working on the science that it requires to get them to that launch to the moon. And then even bigger than that, there's full pillars of scientific discoveries that led to that moment being possible. You know, the discovery of the fuel that they're gonna have to use, the discovery of the insulation that allows them to be in space without being exposed to the temperatures in space, or the lack of pressure in space. They're the people who raised all these scientists to make these discoveries, and the schools around them that allowed them to learn these things. Like, there's so much of humanity that contributes to these specific events in humanity, and they may look like just a few people accomplishing them. And while what they are doing is incredible and amazing and outstanding and very unique, it is because of the larger contributions of humanity itself that these things are even possible. So it is an achievement for all of humanity, and it should be thought of that way. And the pride should be shared across all people around the earth, and not just, you know, one specific nation or few individuals.
Many more files will be released, surely with NASA transcripts mixed in among them. And I don't know if any NASA transcripts were once secret or top secret and then sort of crossed over into the release of files, maybe. And if they were kept secret, it would have surely been only for national security reasons. Remember, we went to the moon because we were scared witless that the godless commies, the Russians, might beat us there and display to the world that their system of life and economy and government would be better than ours. So the whole thing was a military construct. You want further evidence of that? Every astronaut who went to the moon served in the military and were either officers in the military or one or two might have been enlisted. They all served in the military, except for one who was the scientist, Jack Schmitt. So I wouldn't be surprised if many NASA files were top secret, now getting released. If there's something we really can't explain, and you want to think they're aliens because you're alien adjacent, or that's your first thought instead of your 100th thought. I'm a scientist, and in the history of science, the correct explanation has never been magic or aliens, ever. The verified explanation for phenomena we didn't understand. So aliens are kind of low on my list.
Think about the probability of something happening. Is Occam's razor, where it's like the most likely explanation is probably the correct one. And you know, that's not always the case, but if you've never had a single instance where a certain explanation has been true, then you shouldn't just jump to that explanation willy-nilly. Like, you shouldn't just say something is aliens if there's never been a discovery of aliens in history. And even though if you think that there's a lot of evidence for it, if it's never been proven a single time, then you can't just jump to that conclusion. You shouldn't just jump to that conclusion.
I'll just reiterate what I've been saying all along. We're at a stage right now. We have sufficient reason to think they're aliens in the back shed because of testimonies from whistleblowers and insiders, former security officials and ex-military. So, okay, I'm just sitting back waiting for you to walk out the alien. That's kind of what I need right now. And then we're good. At which point nobody has to ask, do you believe in aliens?
Fair enough. Fair enough. And, you know, yeah, hopefully we do find aliens out there someday. I don't think they're going to come to us. I think we're going to have to go to them, send probes to other planets and things like that, and find new solutions to discovering life on distant planets. For now, there's never been any proof that there are aliens in our midst, but we will find out hopefully someday soon if they're out there. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next video.